Cisco is very proud to be involved with the London 2012 Games. And I'm delighted to tell you that joining us this evening is one of the Olympian ambassadors who's agreed to come and talk to us for a short while about his experiences of innovation in sport. I'm delighted to invite to the stage 3 times gold medal winner, Roger Black.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks so much for that introduction. It's wonderful. As the years go by, you become even better in the world of sport. So I won 2 silvers and a bronze, but I'll take 3 golds any day, Mike. Fantastic. Just, you know, in 10 years' time, I'll be world record holder. It's just brilliant. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks for that. It's a real pleasure to be here today. And Mike has asked me just to say a few words about innovation, particularly in the world of sport. And it's been a very interesting day for me today because I've spent the day, like most people here, over at XL. At Cisco Live, and you know, if you want to see innovation, that's the place to go. I mean, everywhere you turn, the innovation is around you, innovation in technology. And tonight is about celebrating innovation in technology. And I found it also very interesting listening to John Chambers this morning, and the parallels between innovation and staying ahead of the game for Cisco. He was talking about flexibility, speed, and all these things. It's the same for every sports person. You know, if you want to operate at the highest level in the world of sport, which in our business was at the Olympic Games or the World Championships, then you have to be innovative. You have to stay ahead of the pack. And innovation in sport for me wasn't just about the technological side of it. And we've seen boundaries be broken down technologically in sport to see increased performances. The obvious one for me is in the world of swimming, where you have these new swimsuits that allow people to smash world records. New tracks that people run on, new spikes. But for me, innovation was all about a mindset of thinking differently, challenging the norm, and trying to do something different, to stay ahead of the game. There's a saying in the world of sport that says, if you think you found a winning formula, then you're about to get beaten. And I think that's true in business as well. And as I look back over my career and I think of moments of innovation that saw increased performance, there's one that stands out for me absolutely. And I'd like to share that story with you. It was something I didn't do on my own. It was back in 1991. I was part of a British relay team, and we went to the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. And we were up against the mighty Americans. Touching on dangerous ground here, but you know, in our business, in the 4x400 meter relay, the Americans always won. They were just the world leaders every single year. And in 1991, nothing had changed. This was a team that on paper were vastly superior to the British team. This is a team that on paper were capable of breaking the world record. This was the team that was going around telling everybody that they are going to break the world record. A team that on paper were vastly superior to the British team. Now the British team back then, and this is sort of nearly 20 years ago, was made up of myself. And at that moment in time, I was the individual silver medalist over 400 meters at the World Championships. Then it went downhill. Because then we had an athlete called Derek Redmond. Derek Redmond is an athlete who is more famous now. We talk about the Olympic Games, we talk about medals and achievements. In 1992 in Barcelona, in the semi-final of the 400 metres, Derek Redmond was 100 metres around the track when he pulled his hamstring muscle on his right leg and collapsed onto the track. And out of nowhere, his father ran onto the track, jumped up, picked up his son off the ground and carried his son in his arms around the track and through the line so that his son can complete his Olympic journey. That image of Derek Redmond and his father was voted one of the top 10 most emotional moments in the whole of Olympic history a few years ago. In 1991, he was the British record holder. Then we had an athlete called John Regis, Big John Regis. Those of you from Britain won't know who I'm talking about, but I'll describe him a little bit later on. John Regis was a 200-metre runner, but if you paid him enough once a year, he would consider running the relay. And then we had a man who was my best friend in the world of athletics, the biggest character that British athletics has ever had, a man called Chris Akabusi. Chris Akabusi was a bronze medalist. Unfortunately, he was a bronze medalist in the 400-metre hurdles. And he was getting on a bit. But nobody had more experience than he did at running the relay. Now, very quickly, the day before the final is when the team management would choose the running order for the relay team. And this was the easiest job in British sport. because we had a winning formula. It's a winning formula we applied every single year. It was a winning formula that every other team in the world applied as well. It was conventional thinking, and this is what you did. You put your best athlete on the last leg to run last. You put an okay athlete to go first, and then you just chuck the other two in the middle. And that was it. So we went to the team meeting, and I remember what the team management said. They said, OK, chaps, Roger, you're the fastest, you're going to go last. Derek, you're running very well, you're going to go first. Chris, you go second. John, you go third. Off you go, chaps. Go and do it for Britain. It lasted about 2 minutes. We left the room, and later on that evening, we went to bed. And as usual, I was sharing with Chris Akabusi. What was unusual was that he wasn't talking. There was silence in the room that night. I will never forget it. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. When he leant over, he looked me in the eyes. He said, Roger, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I said, well, I hope not, Chris. But I said yes, because I knew that we both knew that we'd both been around long enough to know that we had picked the right team. But we had, in fact, picked a team that was running for second place. And sometimes you have an opportunity to win. In the world of sport, winning isn't easy. You have to dare to win. You have to take a risk. You have to take a step. You have to be innovative. You have to be. It's that step away from being excellent to becoming outstanding. And what we had to do for the first time was to become proactive as a team, because what we'd always done in the past is we'd been reactive to our opponents, to the Americans. We had to change that. We had to make the Americans react to us. What we had to do was put our best athlete on the first leg to give us a lead, and that was me. When you're the fastest runner in the team by a long shot, you never, ever, ever run first, never, for one very important reason. If that team happens to win, you don't get your picture in the paper the following morning. It's always the athlete who runs last who gets all the glory. But there are times when you have to put your ego to one side for the greater good of the team. So the innovation was, put your best athlete first. This had never happened before, never. You never, ever do this. So I was to go first and hopefully give us a lead, put the Americans under pressure. I would then hand over on the second leg to our second fastest runner, Derek Redmond, who would either extend that lead or at least would be in contention. At least the Americans would have something to think about. He would hand over on the third leg to Big John Regis. And now let me just describe this man to you, for those of you who don't know. This is a man who has little ears, huge flaring nostrils, and 2 chests. And he would probably be stuck right up an American's backside. If you can imagine what it must be like to have Big John Regis right behind you for 400 metres, the last thing you'll be thinking about is your running start, I can assure you. He would then hand over on the last leg to Chris Akabusi, right behind an American, laughing in his ear all the way around the track. That was innovation. There was method behind our madness. We made that decision that night. We woke up in the morning, spoke to the team management, and they called an emergency team meeting. And I will never forget their faces. There were 2 managers in the room that morning, and one of them says something that will always stay with me as what I think was great management under those circumstances. He said, in the end, you're the 4 athletes who will go out there tonight and run on that track. We'll be sitting in the stands watching you. If you believe in each other, if you really believe in each other, who are we to stop you? As we left the room, the other manager said, be it on your heads. Well, we left the room and it felt great because for the first time as a team, we'd taken ownership of our destiny. We'd taken a collective responsibility for our performance, and we've been innovative. When I stood behind the line that evening, ready to run the first leg at those World Championships, I actually had a feeling I'd never had before as an athlete. When I stood behind the line that evening, I wasn't running for myself, I wasn't running for my country. That evening, I was running for John Regis, Derek Redmond, and Chris Akabusi, who are the 3 greatest teammates that I've ever had, and I'd just like to share that race with you now.
The wind freshening as they get away, and Roger Black in lane number 3 goes straight away, closes right down on the Jamaican. The American Valmont has started fast as well. Into the back straight though, it's Black at this stage who's cut right back on the Jamaican Pat O'Connor. Also going well is Valmont of America, and right on the outside, Keter of Kenya. The first leg run in lanes and the first bend of the second leg, and then they can break. The stagger and winds, we'll begin to see how they sort it out. But the important point is the breaking point on the second leg at the beginning of the back straight. Black has done a good one, but so too has Valmont. But Black on the inside is closing him down all the time. And the handoff point, well, it's very close between America and Great Britain, but I think Great Britain have just got the edge. Derek Redmond now, the UK record holder from Birchfield on the second leg. Quincy Watts going for America. Black 44.6 on the first leg, that's some run. And Britain got the lead they wanted. They've now got to start increasing it because they've got to give Akabusi a healthy start on the anchor leg. Derek Redmond being chased by the teenage Quincy Watts and caught by the American. But has Redmond saved something? Battling down the straight. It's a brilliant leg by the American youngster. Quincy Watts has got America right back in, and has the British gamble failed? John Reid is on the third leg, and he's chasing Danny Everett. The time for Redmond, 44.1, so Watts run a stormer. John Regis, inexperienced at this distance, right behind the World Championship bronze medalist. Everett. When will Regis attack? Has he got the ability to attack? A seasoned 400-meter runner. Regis comparatively inexperienced. And Everett stretching slightly away. Regis comes wide to have a go. And Regis can't quite get there. America will take over in the lead with their world champion pedigree on the anchor leg. Akabusi goes after him. The difference is 3 meters. Now Akabusi has got to sit there and wait and make a late attack if he can. But he's up against the man who is the world champion. The race between the two of them, and the leg by Regis, 44.3. And still Akabusi waits. Pettigrew with goal behind him in the individual event. Akabusi, bronze in the 400 hurdles. Here he goes. This is the important point. Can Akabusi do it? Akabusi has a go, and the American is beaten. And he's fighting back. Akabusi has made it. Akabusi, gold for Britain. America second, and Jamaica third. And the time, 2:57.54. A new British, a new Commonwealth, a new European record, and the gamble paid off.
Apologies to any Americans here. It's the only, it's the only time we ever beat you. So and we have milked it for 20 years, and we will do it for another 20 years. So that's it. That was great. Fantastic. It's fantastic. And to share it with 3 teammates, even more special. I mean, the guy who ran last, Chris Akabusi, has made an enormous amount of money over the last 20 years by describing those 45 seconds, the slowest lap. He got all the credit, we did all the work, but, of course, you put your ego to one side. I think that race demonstrates a really important point, because up until that moment in time, we did have a winning formula and it served us well. What we actually did that evening was we had the courage. We had the courage to change a winning formula. And I think it's the ability to change a winning formula that actually is a winning formula. In the world of sport, to just keep every year having to perform and just keep running faster and faster, you have to have that attitude. You have to think differently. What was interesting for me was we didn't make a big change. We made a very small change. We made it around what was, in effect, a very solid foundation. And that small change enabled us to step away from being excellent to becoming outstanding. And as you just seen, to becoming champions of the world. And, we had our moment. We got to stand on the rostrum, get the medal, and it was fantastic. And I now know what Mike would like to do, and we'd like to do, is to give, you your moment, and to celebrate success in innovation by all of you in this room, and particularly the people that come up and get the awards. So look forward to that. Thank you.